Good afternoon from Yummy BTV. Wishing you all well. Sending plenty of love your way as usual now. I'm going live tonight. Been travelling quite a lot lately, doing some hard work. Another great response to yesterday's video with Uncle Steve Gillen. Clear up a few things on the live later on, if you get what I mean. What else? I'm travelling again in a minute, but I've been a quieter day. Maybe one more big bomb going off this week, so get ready for that. But this afternoon, we talk of another matchup that you've been asking me about now. The two men that we are talking about are Roy Shaw, East London's Roy Shaw, versus probably the greatest warlord of all time in the prison system, and probably outside as well, if you get what I mean, Warren Slaney. Now, I did one on Lenny McLean, Warren Slaney recently, basing it more on Lenny's style, more than anything else. But I did believe Warren probably had a few more boxing skills. But also with Roy Shaw, right? See more of Warren Slaney, obviously, in the system. But it's worth remembering that in the system with Roy Shaw, he more used to fight with prison officers more than he did with inmates, right? We know he ended up in a Broadmoor or a mental institution for some kind of time, but psychologically, and when I matched Warren Slaney and Roy Shaw, they got similar kind of temperaments, more about the same size and build. If we look at Warren Slaney in his 90s, Uncle Yami categorically believes that I don't believe anyone could have beaten him in the 90s when he was ripped and he was at his fighting weight, and his physical training was off the Richter scale. As he gets older, with like many men, the tissue becomes a bit more and he gets a bit more heavier. So it's only human nature that happens. But I'm going to base this on both men at their peaks, even though Roy Shaw is a bit older than us lot, if you get what I mean, by 10, 15 years and that. Now, the fights I watch with Lenny McLean and the stuff on Roy Shaw outside, a lot of it is in his later years. So in natural fact, Roy Shaw was physically supreme more than anyone going into old age. He was, mate. He was. Warren Slaney, has to be said, that isn't like physically looking and fitness wise and strength wise the same as what he was in his younger days in that way, but obviously can still mix it up with the best. Now, like I said, Roy Shaw was more friendly with men inside of prison than Warren Slaney ever was, because we know why. It's going to come out. I'm doing a piece soon on Warren Slaney and the innocence and the real factors surrounding the case and the CCRC, with what's happened with Malkinson and the way that they do it, and how come that policeman got 3 appeals, but Warren Slaney, everybody was just nudging him out and all that. My God, he's got the world against him, poor old Warren Slaney. But that's more to come on that. Now, basing it on their styles, what I see, you boxing connoisseurs may see it a bit more different to me, but I'm watching Roy Shaw, from what I've seen, he was more typically brawly as well, to me. You know what I mean? Like Lenny McLean, and I'm thinking Lenny McLean, those 2 fights later on in life, is just because he was bigger, basically, and they brawl the same, which is why I gave McLean the edge over Slaney. Slaney is a brawler. A man described Elmer, what's his name, as a fighter, like Slaney. If you ever want to know how Slaney fights, especially that left hook from Slaney, it is a serious weapon. Now, the other thing as well, Slaney's got good head movement as well. And what is the power situation? Now, I could honestly tell you, right, we know that in later life, Paul Sykes got the better. The older Roy Shaw is bigger, his thing, and that. I don't know about in their primes, you'll be able to judge that better. But I can tell you today that even though Paul Sykes was older than Slaney, on the 2 occasions they met, the same way with many men that you lot put at the top of the tree, he was fearful of Slaney. Right now, you know, the debates you lot saying about with Build a Bomb, Paul Sykes, and blah, 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 blah. I would say also that Build a Bomb was weary of Slaney, and he ain't weary of no one. I'll talk about that one day, right? So it just depends. Slaney's a menace. He was a menace. But if they're going hell for glory, right, in a prison system, right, as warlords, because Roy Shaw's a warlord in his own right, but I reiterate, didn't take on many fights with inmates. Slaney has fought absolutely everybody. And I've got 4 massive ones, like the French ones I mentioned the other day. I've been holding on to 4 massive big name wins for Slaney, or fights for Slaney in the 90s that no one talks about. Right, so I'm holding on to the diamonds till I'm really ready. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah, me, please, please, please. Yeah, mate, the Frenchy thing happened. Get your head down, mate. You got stops. You know, if someone got to win, someone got to lose. In the 90s, it's Slaney's on a different thing and all that, if you get what I mean. You hesitate around him, you're out, mate. And I believe in the matchup that if they go head to head, right? So if they go in the video room, they go in the shower, they go somewhere where they start, Slaney, they will be both walking the same. Believe that Roy Shaw will be a little bit apprehensive of Slaney. It's very difficult. Roy Shaw wasn't doing a life sentence, right? Slaney's reputation would have preceded him. Roy Shaw wouldn't have really cared who the thought, you know what I mean, who's he talking to? I'll still have it with him, because that's what Roy Shaw's mentality was, right, was the way it was as well. But if they go head to head, the one thing that stands out for me, and you know Roy Shaw could bang as well, but his rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat accumulation of punches often stops people, though, you know, he's on record as stopping quite a few as well. The difference in this fight is Slaney's punching power, mate, and resistance to being punched, right? So in the old days, you look at me more on Roy Shaw as a younger man, the resistance there, but I know that resistance-wise, compared to Slaney, with Slaney never taking trading with some of the biggest names that ever lived, right, and not going nowhere near the floor, mate. You know what I mean? It's got to be said. So in my opinion, the thing that matters most with that matchup with Roy Shaw will be Slaney's power. Simply, and the way that I see it, categorically, Uncle Yami points, of course, it's just my opinion. You asked me my opinion, I've given it to you. So I always believe that it's with Slaney for such a short size, right? I think Roy Shaw's a bit leaner and longer as well. Do you see what I mean? So maybe you could go in there and jab and move, and Slaney was just doing that and doing that. But you just think the minute he lands in the 90s, Roy Shaw, he's peak at his best and he's always in great condition. Uncle Yami says, today, I said Warren Slaney stops him. Coming up very soon, me and the Inquirer, my big brother Ben, who I don't mention in fights yet, said many over the years, will be doing my warlords versus the outside so-called cobbles, hardmen, boxers versus my thoughts on the warlords and the matchups with them. Right, I'm also going down to the Midlands soon. In Ben's studio's being sorted, and when I get round, I'm starting to do, when I go to different cities now, I'm going to make sure I have 3 or 4 podcasts to do to get to Leeds, Birmingham, Sheffield, Manchester, Liverpool. So when I travel to the Midlands, I've got somewhere there to go, stay, and clear it up in 1 week, 2 weeks, and put them up all in different times, rather than travelling on one journey. Also coming to Yami B TV, someone from Manchester as well, and that will be a drama, all right? Begins with T, but it won't be long, all right?